It seems like every other week there is a new Slay the Spire clone releasing on the App Store, but there are actually a lot of unique roguelike deck building games on mobile, and that's why I wanted to share 5 of my favorites. Don't forget to leave a like, pop a sub, and comment down below, and let's get right into it. First up, we have Zaku Dungeon. Now this one feels like a classic dungeon crawler mixed with a roguelike deck builder. Now you explore in first-person format through these dungeons, and you defeat enemies and bosses, you get all kinds of loot, you choose between different scenarios and try to make the right decisions in order to defeat dungeons. And after you're done defeating those dungeons or bosses, then you can return back to the town and you can heal yourself in the inn, you can remove cards, you can upgrade cards, you can even sell things that you found in the dungeon, and then this whole process repeats, but you have to pay attention to your food meter. And if you don't manage your food meter correctly, then your run is done. And at the start of every run, you get to choose a job or class afforded to you, and that determines what cards are afforded to you at the start of a run. And you unlock new jobs as you play and get farther and farther. This was made for me. It has so much charm, and it definitely has that rough around the edges type feel, but man, is it fun. Next up, we have Deck the Dungeon 2. Now, shout out to Silent Rocco for putting this back on my radar. The first time I tried this game, it didn't click, but I tried it again, and I'm glad I did. Now, what makes this truly unique is whenever you are rewarded with a choice of a card, you are not able to skip that choice. So you always have to take a card, and you have to be even more careful because of that, because your deck is getting larger and larger, and it makes those choices even more important. I also really like how buffs and debuffs carry in between battles too. So sometimes they stack up so much to make things really intense towards the end. I just love the flavor of this game, and it's something that you really have to stick with to truly understand. So if you're like me and you try it, you're confused, you don't really get it, stick with it. I promise it will pay off. Next, we have Tavern Rumble. Now, Tavern Rumble feels like a mix between a roguelike deck building game and a tactical strategy game. The battlefield consists of a grid, and where you place your card or unit is just as integral as what card you choose to play. And this allows for some crazy deep strategies and formations with the cards that you have, and there are so many unique factions with their own unique play styles, and I actually really like the progression system of this game because it is a roguelike game and you slowly earn currencies to unlock those new factions. And this game gets consistent updates with new factions all the time and new cards. So if you're looking for a roguelike deck building game that continuously evolves, this is your ticket. And if you love Fire Emblem and stuff like that, I think you'll love this one too. Next, we have Phantom Rose Scarlet. Now, this game's art style is impeccable in my opinion, and it has a really cool timeline function in its battle system where you and your enemy take turns playing one card at a time on that timeline, and they will activate in different orders depending on where you place them. So you're kind of going back and forth and seeing what card your opponent places, and it's kind of like this chess thing where you have to think ahead and you go off of what your opponent does and not just what your personal strategy is. So there's a lot of layers of depth here, and the longer you play it, the more strategic options are afforded to you. And I also love the variety in builds here too. There are so many builds and so many different play styles to shoot for every single run. I highly suggest this one. Last but certainly not least, you know I had to include Dark Mist in this video. Now, Dark Mist utilizes your deck as your own health. So each card is 1 health point, and whenever enemies will attack you, they will steal cards out of your deck and stack them underneath them, and you have to defeat those enemies in order to get those cards or your health back. And on top of that, enemies are lined up in rows and columns, and once you defeat an enemy, another enemy will take its place or collapse down. So you have to strategically choose which enemies to attack first, as well as what enemies to attack to get your health back. It's really fun, and this game actually can be played in portrait or landscape seamlessly, which is always an added bonus. Alright guys, those are some of my favorite unique roguelike deck building games. As always, please leave a like, pop a sub, and comment down below some of your favorites. I'm always excited to read your guys' comments, and I appreciate you taking the time to do so. I love you guys. I hope you guys are staying safe, and take it easy.